Wherefore, Series 2, Episode 30. Caroline is clearly upset. Marjorie usually encourages her clients to focus on the contents of their dreams, but mostly Caroline wants to talk about her missing daughter, who has been absent for some weeks now. "I don't even know when she went," Caroline says for the third time. She is fixated on this detail and it clearly bothers her. She'd been like that before, sleeping most of the time, unresponsive, so I just didn't think anything of it at first. I assumed she'd get up eventually, eat while I was at work. That's how it usually goes. Marjorie listens patiently as Caroline goes over it all again. The errant daughter, Nerys, appeared not to be waking or eating, and Caroline doesn't know how long that went on for without her noticing, or how long Nerys had been missing before she realised. The police have not come up with anything. Caroline's extensive local network has provided no leads. Where a woman with chronic fatigue could have got to is anyone's guess. No one has seen Nerys in weeks now. Her girlfriend disappeared earlier in the summer, and I can't help but feel it's connected, Caroline concludes. "Your daughter was having Ditchley Yat dreams, wasn't she?" Marjorie says. Her notes are in front of her, and she knows the answer to this question. "Yes," says Caroline, "she talked about that a lot." "I think that's significant," Marjorie says. "Ditchley Yat does seem to be especially active in people's dreams at the moment, and of course it has a reputation for stealing people away." "That's just fairy tales." Caroline spits out the words, and the tone of her voice is alarming. It is the tone of someone who resents the things they once cherished and feels betrayed by what they used to believe in. Marjorie sighs. "Caroline, I'm a dream therapist. I deal in magical consequences. I may not be the best person to help you right now." There is a long pause, and then Caroline says, "You're probably right," and hangs up. It is not a good situation, and Marjorie feels uncomfortable. Over the years, she has become adept at spotting when there's nothing she can do for someone. She prefers not to waste her time and energy on people who will derive no benefit from it. It doesn't much matter to her what kind of benefit people get, but unhappy people can turn hostile, and she isn't open to that. Caroline shows all the signs of someone unable to reconcile their beliefs and their life experiences, and this never goes well. It is a shame, because she'd wanted to talk to Caroline about beavers. Did Nerys have any kind of spiritual connection with the creatures? Over the last few nights, Marjorie has dreamed repeatedly that the ditches of Ditchley Yat are being transformed by beaver activity. She has had a keen sense that someone needs to know about this, but no idea who. Now she feels strongly that Caroline is the one who needed to hear about it, but also that Caroline is a long way from being able to make any use at all of such information. Marjorie has also been having a recurring dream that seems full of significance, but that she cannot yet decode. There are a group of people around a big kitchen table. They appear to be doing some kind of massive crafting project, although it does not make much sense. From some angles, it looks like they are making an enormous wicker basket, and yet in the same dream, the process seems to be more like quilt making. Sometimes she dreams they are knitting, and in one of the dreams, one of the women at the table was unravelling her own innards to make the knitting wool. She cannot recall the woman's face, but all the other people at the table seem familiar. People she has seen around, but does not know personally, she thinks. They are not ordinary people. Some of them have more than one face, and whoever they are important. In the most recent version of the dream, the crafters at the table were aware of her. At other times, she has just been a ghostly observer, a floating eye, or someone watching the events unfold as though in a film. The most recent dream has her as present and visible to the others, and the more she thinks about it now, the more significant this seems. They kept asking her to sit with them, work with them, help them make whatever it is they are making. In the dream, her hands were empty. Marjorie knows she needs to work out what she can bring to that table. It may well be the most important dream she has ever had. Your narrator must confess that this part of the story was unknown to her back in September. and is only now visible with hindsight. It is a really important moment in this tale, as is so often the way of it. At the time, it just wasn't obvious how much it mattered. How many people were sharing dreams of that crafting table? Hard to tell. But something called them together, and it was not me. I have said before that there is a goddess in the weave. She is secretive and subtle, and hardly ever lets anyone get so much as a glimpse of her. Sometimes her presence is suggested by the meshing of small but powerful coincidences. At a time when the local weaver was unravelling and the local weave was under threat, a great many people who had the potential to be weavers found themselves at a table in their dreams, cobbling something together, and out of these dreams they wove a layer of hope and possibility that had not existed before. It is hard to talk about the weave without making it sound like a flat piece of cloth, which is misleading. The weave is a near infinity of threads made of life and ideas, action and intention. We are all engaged in its creation. We are all part of it. We weave our life threads in with the threads of other lives, and between us make the fabric of all things. To be a weaver is to go beyond that, having the scope to add pattern, meaning and beauty to the cloth. It is too much for one person to do well, even on the smallest and most local scale. There were always meant to be more weavers. Somehow, for some reason, in September, people who might be weavers began waking up to themselves. In their dreams of making, they began to engage with the fabric of reality in new ways. They became a dreaming quilting bee to patch up the holes, and some of them started to get a sense of the significance of these strange sleep gatherings. At this time, the weaver, mad and distressed, did not show up usefully, but sat at the table as Marjorie had observed, trying to make fresh thread out of her own guts. She did not understand what was going on. She is not omniscient, but night by night the new makers and weavers brought their own materials. They came with threads and stories, patches made from spare bits of themselves, materials they could afford to share. Without even knowing what was going on, they came in their dreams to repair the weave and to coax the weaver out of self-destructive madness and back to something a bit like functionality. Of course, some of you know this already, because you were there.